And we are live. Welcome, welcome. Replay viewers, we're doing an impromptu, obviously. Hey everyone, we're going live. I did post, for the replay viewers, this is week 3 of the Creation Frequency by Mike Murphy, based on the book by Mike Murphy. We're going week by week on what he's touching on the formula and how he's going over the basics so that you can know how to manifest in a very efficient way. So I'm gonna give it a few minutes. I know this wasn't kind of like planned. I try to fit this into my schedule as I can, and now today I'm using Facebook, so this is a little different, so bear with me. Welcome to my room. Very informal. Let me just get this set up and see if I can see where everything's at here. All right. Okay. Well, let's see if I can. All right. Let's get to it. So I did post a picture of an atom. I found it coincidentally before I even decided to do this a few weeks ago. Hey, how are you, Gay? So yeah, you should see a post. I also found a YouTube video of the audiobooks, so for your listening pleasure. That was a good find. So if you didn't buy the book, you can listen to it on YouTube. It's in the previous post, and I believe I put it on. I also added on to the title of the live, so you can find it here as well. He goes into how the universe really works. I am not going to go into detail. It's basically quantum physics, and he does kind of harp on how an atom is made and and how the dynamics of it is. And I'll just go into it briefly and go over the 4 truths of the universe. So this will be a quick one. And but yeah, so you have that picture for reference, just to kind of get an idea of what an atom is composed of and how it can relate to the microcosm and the macrocosm, how we are all essentially just space, empty space. I know it's kind of hard to even believe that our physicalness, our bodies, our furniture can be just at a very micro level, just empty space. So, but he tries to hone in on how we can affect our reality and how we connect on that level and can ultimately change things. So he goes into how when something is observed becomes real or becomes set. And he references and he does quote some of the teachers that he follows, and specifically some terms that'll kind of help us understand how this can work. So let's say, for example, you have he references the universe or energy and as well as physical objects as unset jello, right? So it looks physical to us, but once we pay attention to it and look at it and focus on it, it becomes set, so to speak. So let me, I digress, let me go back. And so in order to attract what you want, you have to create a vibrational match within yourself, right? He goes into that, and he says in a state of love, gratitude, and joy and expansefulness, you are more likely to attract things that in your life that it generates more of that. And you already know that, I'm sure. So, and as we've discussed before, love is the highest frequency and is the key to manifesting. And love can be, hold on, let me just lower this down real fast. It's starting to be distracting. Okay. Love can take the form of joy, peace, excitement, and purpose, right? It doesn't necessarily mean love in the form of relationships. It can apply to every area of your life. So, and as you know, everything is energy, right? Mass and energy are different, are just different manifestations of the same thing. So we learn what we need to do is learn how to tune in to the vibrations of, of ourself, of other people, of places, of things. So in essentially of the world you live in. So for what he delves into too is and he goes into detail, is the 4 truths about the universe. So I'm going to go over each one and then go a little bit into that. And if you listen to that chapter, I believe it's chapter 7, he goes into how, he goes into a lot of examples. And so I'm not going to kind of like drag that on for you. We're going to do this, and it's going to be kind of, again, in digestible bite-sized segments. So the first one is matter is just an illusion. Okay. And this is what I'm talking about, like unset jello, right? Everything is energy on a basic level. Atoms are the building blocks of matter, right? Physical atoms are like vortices of energy spinning and vibrating. So each atom is the nucleus, which with electrons rotating around it. So, and in between is just empty space. So you can imagine a door, a chair, a table, all comprised of atoms, of these microscopic, tiny, like infinitesimal, kind of like cells, just comprising of the building blocks of what we see and what we touch and what we feel. The quality and shape of electrons are the result in the particular vibration frequency. So atoms are 99% empty space, and the smallest identifiable units of energy is called quanta. But they are not really things, is what he says, and they are visible particles and invisible waves. So this is what creates it. And they fluctuate in between these two states. So our physical body, okay, our energy melds and blends with our environment, okay? Our energy is always constantly touching and blending and melding with physical objects, people, places, and things. And this is one of the things he goes into as a result of how we can manifest, how we can affect reality. Number 2 is anything is possible. Atoms are like clouds of fields of possibilities, and he goes into saying that matter isn't anything yet until we focus on it, until we see it, right? Until we observe it. And he states that when scientists measure atoms or measure the units of it, that's when it becomes still, in a still state where we can see it or we can measure it. But when we're not focusing on it, when we're not paying attention to it, it's always changing. It's almost as if it's just liquid form, like just clouds, basically. Just it kind of looks like dust, kind of how he explains it. So this is the reference of unset jello. So it's unset when we're not paying attention to it, but then it sets when we look at it, if that makes sense. So again, like I said, the atoms are the building blocks of reality coming into form as the world you live in and your physical body. So they are not fixed, predictable objects, neither are the circumstances of your life. With that said, this is your nature, right? So as the infinite possibility of atoms, so are you. You are full of infinite possibilities. Number 3, consciousness turns possibility into reality. So again, he goes into when we become aware of it, the jello sets. So when we become aware of it, and it's, if you think about it, it looks real. Everything looks real. So, but things come into form. You're not going to see things come into form. It's our perception of it, right? So when you look into it as creating a manifestation of what you want, or let's say, for example, let's say you go into a store, right? And you're the only one there, or it looks pretty empty, and all of a sudden, a lot of people come in. I'm sure that's happened to you, where then it becomes busy. That's kind of the same concept, where things just start to manifest without you even putting any effort into it. Especially when you walk in and you're like, oh, this is empty. Like, what's going on here? This is pretty empty. And all of a sudden, bam, everybody starts kind of flowing in. So our observation may in fact play a participatory role in our reality, right? So it brings the observed object into being. When atoms are observed, especially when matter is observed by scientists, like I said before, it comes into being. So every minute of every being, every minute of every moment of how we live in our world creates our world. Number 4, everything is connected. So he talks about the interwebs, the web of life, how everything, we are connected to the rocks, the trees, the earth, other beings. There is like a mesh of intertwined lines, and whenever we focus on one thing, we're focusing on that strand. And you have an infinite possibility of strands that you can focus in on and follow that path. And let's say, for example, let's talk in the concept of timelines, right? So you have an infinite possible timelines where you can, whatever decision you make can direct you to that possible timeline, and the other ones just kind of fall away. Now, there is a school of thought that those continue on, but your consciousness gets directed to that one strand, that one timeline, and then creates whatever it is that you decided to create with that choice, with that decision. And it's a web of intertwined processes, and it's dependent on many variables. Our energy is blending with everything around us. Our true self is one of true potential, especially when we are aligned with a power that manifests everything. That means we're aligned with God's source, God creator, source energy, all that is. We have to be aligned with that to be in our truest potential. That's why I always advocate, I'm a huge proponent of connecting to source, empowering yourself, because it's almost as if you're recharging your battery, but not only recharging your battery, you're aligning yourself with source, and then you can have that power even more so to create the reality that you desire. If you are trying to co-create from a shallower sense, like playing small and not and of doubt and fear, of a shallower sense of who you are, from a belief you're only a separate being, when we're feeling separate from everyone else, from God's source, you will not be connected to that power anymore. So you won't be connected to the power of the universe's intention. And the universe's intention is infinite possibility of being the creator and creating everything, anything, and whatever it is that you desire, or nothing. When you are coming from a place of not believing that you are a creator, you are in a sense creating that you are not the creator. So you have to think about that. And in that sense, you will not be tapped into the source of power and the drive that vibrates through everything around us. When you connect with your deeper self and connect to the center of the universal consciousness, you will be directly tuning into the creation frequency. With that said, the vibrations are all around you, and you have to feel and imagine yourself as this porous vibrational being. We always talk about, or in the spiritual community, about being mindful of your energy, maintaining and being in tune with your energy, or perhaps shielding from other energies. That's obviously a separate conversation, and that can be unpacked in many other ways. But essentially, we are like sponges, very porous, and always reading and being read by different energies. We are just a collection of energy, blending and melding with the field and being blended by other energies. Okay? So essentially, we pick up on other people's energy, and as we do places and things, so we're essentially picking up on a vibe. So when you say, essentially I don't like that person's vibe, well, you're reading that energy, and it's a more of a reading of you're not, you're conscious but not conscious of something that's not in a vibrational match with you. So that is basically it. So thank you for joining me. And thank you for the replay viewers that came in on a later time. If you have any comments or feedback, please do put them below in the comments. Again, I posted a picture of what an atom looks like and the YouTube video of the audiobook. So please do feel free to listen to that. I would if I were you. Although I would prefer the book. I actually have the audiobook, but I am thinking about purchasing the book, physical book itself, to have it as references. It's a good reference book. So anyway, thank you, Gay, for joining me today. And until next week, hopefully we'll be a little bit more consistent with the day and time. But that is pretty much it. So anyway, if you want to go into more of how he explains the universe as far as like on an atom perspective and how you could create and manifest, definitely listen to chapter 7. And with that, I will see you next week. Have a great weekend. Much love. Mwah.